Welcome to Momentum, the sports show where we break down all the biggest issues facing the world of women's sports. Brought to you by Mecca Empower. I'm your host, Kat Sasso, and each week I will be joined by athletes, experts, and trailblazers in the world of women's sports as we dive deep into the trials and the tribulations of the world of women's sports. With the AFC Women's Asian Cup only days away, it was only right that I brought in one of the most important people in women's football in Australia, a former Matilda, someone who did actually win this tournament back in 2010, and now the Chief Operating Officer of the AFC Women's Asian Cup, Sarah Walsh. Welcome.
Thanks so much for having me. Look at this place.
It has been such a long time coming, and I'm so glad that we finally managed to get you on because you have been someone that I've been dying to talk to about this tournament for the longest time.
Hey, all you had to do was call.
Hey, Sarah.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me on the couch.
No, I'm so happy to be here. What are we, 9 days out now?
9 days out, but when this goes live, it's going to be about four days.
Yes,
so it's very exciting. It's been a long time in the making. Can you tell me how long you've been working on this?
It's a very good question, actually. So we put the bid in right before the Women's World Cup in 2023. So I wasn't actually part of that process. It was a tiny team at Football Australia that put the bid in, and straight after the Women's World Cup, I started working on it and started to kind of solidify what it looked like. And we won hosting rights in 2024. So I stood up a team 18 months ago. I was the first employee of the organisation that we stood up. So it's been, it's been a sprint, an 18-month sprint. So I was the first employee, and today we have 156. So I guess you could call us a startup, pretty much. That
to organise a team and to organise a tournament in such a short amount of time is insane.
It is actually, and we're delivering the same size tournament that was delivered in 2015. It's the same number of stadiums, less teams, but community expectations, investments, kind of very similar. They had 4 years to run that, so I would have loved a year to plan and build out your operational planning, build a team, calibrate. It's been pretty crazy, but we have a fantastic team today, and we're ready.
Well, I want to start back as your time as a player. So can you talk to me about where your journey started as a player?
I was about 5 years of age, and my older brother was playing football, so it's such a cliche story. I reckon I've heard this 500 times from every other player that I played with of my age. And he was playing, and I was on the sidelines, and I was like, to my mum and dad that I wanted to play. And it was down at Roos Soccer Club in Minto in Campbelltown, and I don't think my brother went on to play anymore, and I was obsessed with it from day one. So I was a pretty serious, determined kid and loved it. Did a little bit of athletics as well, so I had to choose between those two. Wasn't a difficult decision. So, loved my football.
How different is women's football in Australia now versus when you were playing?
Oh, night and day. I think the opportunities, obviously, for women and girls are so different, and you only have to just drive around on a weekend to see all the pitches full of young girls, women, at night filling the community grounds. They went to another level after the Women's World Cup. It never gets old for me talking about it because, anecdotally, I know so many women, friends and, my nieces and nephews that girls and women really didn't see themselves in sport. Yeah. Same with consumers, right? Like mums of families who, the dads and the sons would go off to watch the AFL and NRL, but this is really now something that the family can enjoy. Yeah. I'm talking about a Matilda's match now, but how that's filtered down to the grassroots is that young 5-year-old girls have role models. Young boys look at the Matildas as role models now. I mean, that's changing, I think, the environment for young girls at a grassroots. I'm pretty certain that, young boys also needed to see women excel to know that young girl on their team belongs there. So I think we're changing. Well, we did change attitudes and beliefs. I think we took it on the spectrum a bit further.
Yeah. The landscape has been changing for a very long time, but I do believe that the Women's World Cup that we hosted here was almost the fire that lit this massive change. Have you kind of noticed that over the last couple of years?
Yeah. There were a couple of things that used to frustrate me as a player, whether it was, through my professional career and then moving into sports administration, particularly at Football Australia, that we've just been having to bust all these myths, have been held to kind of different standards. But, forever when I was a player, it was either, you're going to get the results and that will, that's how you unlock the investment. And, but without investment, you don't unlock the results,
Sure.
And to get the commercial partners, you need to do the hard work. No, it's pretty simple. Whoever owns the rights of a team and if you're serious about, growing the brand or putting the best product on the pitch, you have to, have deliberate investment and strategy. And that's what we did around the Matildas for the World Cup. So, where we take that to in 2026 is going to be really exciting. This is going to be the biggest ever Women's Asian Cup on so many levels, whether it's attendance, broadcast. I'll be really excited. We're growing the value and brand of this tournament. And I think, that's the role Australia can play in Asia. We're one of 47 nations and, one of the biggest tournaments that everyone looks to is the Euros, and everyone gets quite excited by that. And I don't think the Asian Cup over the years has had the same shine, but it should.
Yeah.
And Asia, the amount of investment, particularly in women's football, is rapidly increasing. And, you're seeing that in the Middle East for men. It's only going to follow the same for women. And that's exciting for Asia. We now have the Champions League. We're uncoupling the Women's Asian Cup from qualification so it can be a standalone tournament. And there's so many exciting things happening in Asia, and Australia is going to lead through delivery of this tournament.
Well, the quality of women's football in Asia has completely exploded over the last couple of years. I worked on the Under-17s Women's World Cup a few years ago.
Yeah.
And seeing the Asian nations in that tournament, 17-year-old girls and younger, seeing the way that they took on that tournament and the absolute quality that I saw in that tournament, it's truly incredible the amount of change that has been made over the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
But did you ever look at the game and think that it would ever get to this place this quickly?
You have to go all the way back to 2006. So I was a part of that where Australian football moved into Asia. We were a big player in Oceania. And so, for a long... I went to my memory's not great, but I went to the Olympics qualifying through Oceania, and really the competition we had was New Zealand, and as soon as we moved into Asia, we were kind of the little one, the challenger,
fish in the big pond.
Yeah,
now.
And it's still the case. If you speak to this current team, I mean, back in my day in 2006 when we moved into Asia, you had China, Japan, Korea Republic, DPR Korea, particularly China. They were powerhouses in women's football. I grew up looking at Sun Wen, who's a friend of mine now who's coming to the tournament here. That's why it was so critical we moved to Asia so we could grow as a nation on the pitch. And to be part of that 2006 squad that we hosted the Women's Asian Cup in Adelaide, and we made it all the way to the final in our first ever outing, and we qualified for the World Cup. So we were the first team in Australia to qualify to a World Cup in Asia. It was actually, I think it was a really big moment for Australian football, and we made the final. We lost to China, but I think when I look back at the Matildas, World Cups are really critical. I went to an Olympics. If you love your football, you want to go to a World Cup. But I think if you look back at the history of the Matildas and all those pivotal moments, it's always been the Asian Cup. Yeah. We won 2010. The first tournament we ever went to as a national team was in Hong Kong, the Asian Cup. And so now that I'm running it, I'm probably more sentimental about it. But I hadn't thought about it until I took this job on, going, wow, actually, it's really critical. It's been 16 years since Australia won it with some of the best talent we've ever had, some of the best teams. And I'm excited to see the team are so hungry, the Matildas, to win this thing. Yeah. You're going to see some serious determination. And I think a lot of the players that played at the World Cup know how to play in front of an Australian crowd now, and they play their best football at home as well. So they're going to be, they're going to be a strong team.
What did winning the Asian Cup mean for you as a player? I
would say it's meant more post-career. you're focused as a player, you get focused on the next thing. We had an Olympics 2 years later, London Olympics, so we moved on straight to the next thing. Something that I would say about that team, and I don't know if my teammates would agree, but they're pretty low expectations on us, although we had a really good squad. I felt like we were going through a transition period where we'd lost a significant number of older players. So Cheryl Salisbury, Di Allegich, a lot of our backline had moved on. Although I think I was late 20s, my knee was starting to not be so good, so I wasn't able to play the minutes. But we had Lisa Devana, we had these young players, Sam Kerr, but they were kids, You really should never expect too much from a 16-year-old, right? They're a nice impact player, but they're not going to win your tournaments. You need good depth, and I think we had that. We had a really good, solid, the Kim Carrolls and the Tamika Yallips. They were very good players, and we had a lot of those. And I just think what I learnt from it is you need a squad of 23 and then 26 for this to win a tournament. Yeah. Spain showed us that in 23. Mm-hmm. They rested their entire team in the group stage. It matters. You have to be able to leverage every single player. And I think that's probably the most exciting thing about this tournament. There's 3 extra spots. That's how you can take a Mary Fowler in your team, because you'll give her as much time as possible to touch the grass late in the tournament if you can leverage your talent. So we just had a good squad. We had good squad depth. I don't think we had the best team we've ever had, and that was enough to win.
Yeah. What is something that you and your teammates really had to fight for that younger players now might not even realise?
Laundry and Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the 2 things. Yeah,
I've heard it from a lot of people. Kits as well. Did you guys get your own kits, or were they the recycled ones?
My first kit was a massive Adidas. We wore the men's. They were massive. I remember wearing them in humid Brisbane, playing my first match against New Zealand. They were heavy when they were wet, but they were men's. I think we got to keep them. Look, I wouldn't change a thing in my Matilda's career. I had everything. We had a lot more than the players before us, but I remember I think it was Heather Garriock and Melissa Barbieri, us going to the Federation saying, hey, we're all huddling around a couple. Wi-Fi, you wouldn't know, used to be really expensive in hotels, particularly in Asia. And so connectivity was important for us to speak to our families while we were away. And we were away for long periods of time. So we did. We went to the Federation and said, we need you to cover Wi-Fi. That was the stage just after calling cards, but you probably never used a calling card.
No, my grandmother still does use those.
Okay.
Yeah. Still, even though she gets the unlimited talk and text on her phone, on her mobile plan, she still uses the calling cards. And I try to tell her, I'm like, you get unlimited calls and texts, you can use it. She still doesn't get it. But she does have Facebook. Yeah. So she knows how to post on Facebook. She knows how to send texts. Yeah. She just doesn't understand that you can just call people now. Or you can use FaceTime,
They were Wi-Fi. Handy back in the day, though. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. So, Wi-Fi and laundry. Laundry, if you think about it. That's actually, you end up spending more than you make in a tournament if you're having to do your own laundry in a hotel.
Yeah, and it's something as well, I think, it makes a massive difference, because these are things that you wouldn't really think about now.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi is pretty much a given anywhere that you go. Yeah. So is laundry, really. So it's something that, younger players for sure wouldn't even have to even think
100%.
of.
But you go back another 10 years before me and we had players paying to play, paying to get their way to tournaments. So, we had a great time. And in 2010, we negotiated the first collective bargaining agreement. So why that was pivotal, it was about security. Up until that point, you're only paid if you were in a camp, and you were paid a per diem, and it was a good per diem, but, if you got injured, there was no kind of security or protections. There was no health insurance. Health insurance is something else. These small things.
Which is something that you absolutely need, that kind of security as an athlete.
Yeah.
If anyone else on earth, you know.
It'd like be not giving a laptop, in an office. So it's but look, that's just part of the journey. When I hear stories from the 1975ers, and we had it great, my era, and then I look at the team now, and there's nothing they go without. But if you want to keep up with the best, particularly in Asia and Europe, we're going to have to keep investing. Keep innovating around research, thinking about sports science, how we can we put in some fantastic policies in 2019 to 2023 that allowed Katrina Gorry to have, the primary carer to have children in. And what we worked out is that having a child in the performance environment enhanced the environment. Psychologically it's not good for players to be in this performance mindset 24/7 and after a loss to have a little kid there, it kind of lighten, relax the mood. And so I think that's something that I've known we've been able to do a little bit easier in the women's side of the game, is to just trial new things, because we don't have to always do it how it's always been done. And so I think there's still new heights that the environment that's been set for the team can go to.
My biggest question for you, did you ever one day believe or think that you would ever be running this tournament?
No.
Never crossed your mind?
No, actually. I'd love some, like, I get often asked around career advice, and my career has not been linear. I would love to say that I was really deliberate about that next move, and that's the next move. And what I will say is that I've probably never said no to things. It's not that I don't say no, but I think if you feel uncomfortable about something, you should really lean into that. And so, no, I hadn't thought about running the tournament, possibly because I didn't see it as my next career progression. And I had a pretty big role for the Women's World Cup. It wasn't working on the tournament, but it was working on the periphery of it for 3-4 years. I was, I'm banned from saying the word legacy, but we leveraged as much as we could out of that platform. When you have a World Cup, I'm working with some of the other countries that are going to have World Cups, because if you don't start that planning early, you won't capitalise on it at its peak. And so we did a great job at that, and then this came up, and I have to say that I've had some good sponsorship from people that put me in the role, and it's a big role, right? It's I'm definitely doing stuff that wasn't on the PD, but I think being a player,
it's what pushes you to be better, right?
100%. Yeah, and I think given that I'd leveraged a major tournament, I think I was the best person to then run one, because we shouldn't just run tournaments for the sake of a 4-week moment. I've been really focused on making sure the how we run this is really important. And so making sure that I'm working with the football community, making sure I'm working with the A-League clubs, the A-League. I work very closely with Football Australia, because, how we leverage this, how we strengthen relationships with government, how we increase our revenues through new partnerships is why you run tournaments. Will we have more multicultural communities playing football after this? That's the stuff I actually care about.
Yeah.
But I've got to say, this has been one of the hardest things I've done, because the event space is not sports development.
Yeah.
It's a completely new industry. These venues are $1 billion venues that we operate in. They're some of the best in the world, and I'm now working with a workforce that many have had 10 tournaments on their belt, and probably looking to 2032 as their next role. And so I'm working with a different workforce. I'm working with a team that I'll only know for 8 months, where, I like to develop and build loyalty, and we're really just putting this thing on and then winding the business down. And so it's been one of my biggest challenges. It's been fun though.
You kind of gave me a bit of an insight into what it's been like, but what has it actually been like stepping into this role of COO?
It's been, as I said, a challenge. It was 18 months ago. We were finding an office.
Yeah.
We moved into an office. I was building a team. I did it through a kind of shared services model with Football Australia. We moved into the entertainment quarter in Sydney, and it was pretty much, how quickly can you build a team? How quickly can you build the systems, the compliance, the processes and policies you need to? So it's kind of like a founder. You set the business up, you scale it. I think some of my, I've had so many learnings along the way. And so many great coaches along the way that I really leveraged through this role. I've called them, and Tom Samani's one of them, where you go from a team of 10 to a team of 50 to a team of 100 to a team of 150. Your leadership or your approach to leadership needs to change, right? And so very early on, I was hands-on. I was literally drafting a constitution for the LOC. This stuff might be boring to you. But
no, this is exactly what I want to hear, because I don't think many people really understand the inner workings of putting together a team and putting together a tournament. So there's so many logistical things behind it that it's so interesting.
So much. So we were selecting stadiums whilst we were, finding an office to be in. The building the teams thing has been fun, getting the team set. Setting up the compliance processes. I think when I look back in 2025, we did something like 30 major procurement packages. And so what that means is like venue technology, everything we need to do to be able to operate the stadiums, uniforms for workforce, but all of this sits within our teams. And so getting the right people on board and, it's been fun. I mean, but as I said, the things that I've had to learn is how you need to change your approach, because what may have worked in day one won't work in day 100, because I've got to slowly get out, and once you build your team, you get out of the detail a bit more and you start leading. And so I guess you could say that you start out as a COO and you end up as a CEO, but you don't get to be CEO if the team isn't built. And so that's probably been the biggest challenge to me, and in being able to navigate that. And I think one thing that's really helped is your discipline as an athlete is you kind of you wake up every morning and you're disciplined with where you need to spend your time. And so that's something that comes natural to me, because I think most athletes are quite selfish in the way that they do the things they need to do to be successful. And I've been able to do that daily, to have conviction with my time. And what I've enjoyed is getting closer to day one. The clarity around that just becomes so clear. It's fun.
My next question was literally going to be, does your experience as a player have an effect on the way that you approach this role?
Absolutely, yeah. I think, in terms of experience and knowledge, there's no doubt that probably twofold. One is, when I think about the tournament, I see it through a player's lens, and I can't help that. That's automatic. I find myself quite interested in pitch management and, what the pitch is going to look like, and, what are the standards going to look like for our training venues and hotels, and we've got fantastic teams that are focused on that. And when you're thinking about a budget and where you spend investment, and where having to make difficult choices around where you can spend and where you don't spend, and need to balance that out against how many ticket sales you have at the end of the day, it's always player first. The product on the pitch are the players. And so if they're not set up for success, and that goes for the officials, and, making sure that they're staying in the best hotels. And so when I look at the pyramid of things that matter, you could put all that stuff up the top. And so we've always put that front and centre, and we've built a team around that. So there's that, but also I think the way there's absolutely no doubt that my leadership style and the way that we talk a lot about people. It was one of our critical pillars in how we were going to build this. We spent a significant amount of time around our recruitment and the principles around that, and that means that we've got the right people for these jobs. You need to be action orientated. You need to be agile, because we're doing this in 18 months. You can't be a perfectionist. And so I think my high performance and time in high performance has really made me understand. I'm not a consultant. I don't have that background. Performance is driven through people.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm really proud about is kind of our flexible working approach. We talk about flexibility, right? We have in the office 3 days, out of the office 2 days. But one of our values is trust. So trust in the high performance space is handed over. It's yours. Yeah. It's yours until you break it. And so that's not normally the way corporates, deliver outcomes. And for me, it's about I'm outcomes focused. Everyone has a different personal life. Everyone has different requirements and needs at home. And so how you get there is up to you, as long as you get there, as long as you find time to connect in the office at your own pace. And so that flexibility means I think we've got more out of people. People feel like they haven't had to sacrifice too much personal time. Yes, now we're all in, but and I think I've role modelled it because I've got a 4-year-old. So if I'm at the office till 12 p.m. at night, also I've got this saying where if everything's urgent, nothing's urgent. So if I can't take 2 hours off for bedtime at night with my 4-year-old, they're the expectations I set. So that's the culture that's bred through my role modelling.
Being a parent and also having the background of being an athlete, how do you see that also affects the way that you view your workspace?
Being a parent has definitely changed me. I heard Sam Kerr talking about this. It's pretty simple, actually. You don't sweat the small stuff. Because you have to, when you're at home, you're on. When you're at work, you're on. And, my wife actually has a big job as well. So we have a lot of care and help. But, I had a child to hang out with the child. I quite like hanging out with her. So, I think I don't associate time with output. So, people can deliver output in multiple ways. And so as long as the output's there and the connection with team is there, that can be done in 100 different ways. And everyone, as I said, has different needs. And no one has needed, particularly out of my executive leadership team, no one has needed flexibility more than me. Yeah. So I've been able to do this with the tournament. I think it's really changed my thinking around flexible work because it can be done. If you can do it in a Matilda's team environment where you can bring a child in and someone can be a parent and perform. I mean, Katrina Gorry's a perfect example. I reckon she's a better player as a mum than she was prior. And back to your question, I think it's because she doesn't sweat the small stuff anymore. She's got a child. That's some serious perspective. And not everyone's going to be a parent, but I think the principles are the same. I try to tell my team that is this something big? Is it manageable? Is it worth crying over spilt milk? No, most of the time it's not. And we're not surgeons. We're not saving lives. We're putting on matches and moments.
We're seeing a lot of former athletes, but also mothers now transitioning into executive roles. We saw Heather Garriock, interim CEO of Football Australia, and yourself as well. Why is that?
Yeah, look, I think I think our ability to deal with pressure, we've dealt with pressure since we were teenagers. And I was actually sitting with Heather the other day and she was like, oh, how are you going? Because she was interim CEO for a while, so I was reporting to Heather. And there were some moments where I'm like, oh, this is really hard. It's a bit physical and it's a bit like the mental load is a lot, and when both those things are hard. And I was like, actually, I think, and we've played a lot together over the years, and there were a couple of moments where I was like, actually, this is probably as hard as that pre-season we did. Do you remember that pre-season we did at blah, blah, with this club? And she's like, oh, yeah, that was pretty hard, where you're thinking about quitting because it was so hard. I've had a couple moments like that, but I just think it really trains you for hard moments. And, you're never measured on how you respond or behave when things are good. It's when things are bad. And I wouldn't say that I've always responded the best, but it just takes a lot to really, destabilise because, we've played in front of big crowds. We've played injured. We've played under poor coaches, good coaches. You kind of have a lot thrown at you. But
you also have children, whole human beings that rely on you too, and that's a whole different can of beans, isn't it?
Yeah, that really is. That's, if anything's going to test your patience and tolerance, it's a child.
Yeah.
And but I would extend it though. I'm really fixated on having my daughter play team sport, and she doesn't like soccer. I made her do it for a term, and she really didn't like it.
It might grow on her one day. You never know.
I've just got to let it go. But she loves dancing, so we take her to dancing, and I'm desperately wanting her to play team sport. And all the research is out there. It teaches the social skills and
the leadership skills,
team first, sharing, resilience. It really does. And so I wouldn't. The emphasis is always put on these these 1%ers, people that played for their country, becoming C-suite. I see so many women working across sport right now. They all played sport. It didn't matter what level.
Yeah.
Resilience is it. Resilience and discipline are taught through team structures and just simply turning up when you don't want to turn up, and that's team sport, right? So my daughter will be playing a team sport.
I think we were talking about this before we came in, but women truly do have to be exceptional at what they do to get to where they want to go. And I think it is a massive testament to yourself and everyone else who has come through the ranks of both being an athlete and now continuing on to executive roles or whatever role they might take on, whether that's being a coach, an administrator, an analyst, a commentator, a media personality. 20 degree, I think it's truly remarkable the things that women can do with having children, or just they will get to where they need to go because they know that they need to get there.
Yeah. We have about 60, I think I have about 60 to 70% women in our business, and that represents also, and also an executive. It's got to be the only sporting organisation. I know we're a short-term one in sport in Australia that has that number, probably outside of netball.
Yeah.
That has, multi-sport. And it's been a fascinating social experiment because, there's a lot of, there's so much research out there that talks to women lack confidence. We are pushed out of the workforce to have children. The flexible policies are not there, and we're absolutely making headway, and we've got International Women's Day coming up, and you'll see some of the gender equality numbers. They're not very good, and some of the gaps are getting bigger on pay gap. They're getting, worse on representation. But we've been able to build this from scratch, and what I found is the more talented women you bring in, the more you attract, because women have choice now. And so where you see organisations with no women, it's always a good marker or signal for either cultural issues or lack of flexible work. And, I think we'll end up in a space where the good industries and the good companies, they fix all of that stuff up because women have choice now, and the talented women will move. But I've been really excited about what we've been able to build. We've got some fantastic men working in our business, and it's been interesting to have the swing the other way. It's not something I think about daily, but you walk around the office, and actually we had a supplier come in the other day and they were like, "Are there any men working in your office?" And I was like, "Yeah, I promise they are." "Oh, they're working from home today." It's
They're here.
They're here.
They're just not here right now.
Absolutely, yeah, not here right now. And yeah.
Let's talk Matildas. The squad got released recently. What are your thoughts?
Do you know what? I've not looked at it.
That's a great answer, because you are the most busiest woman, I think, on the planet right now.
Yeah.
And that's fair enough. Got Sam Kerr back. We've got Mary Fowler. Do you believe that we can go far in this tournament?
Yeah, I do. Yes. I think I'll wear my organiser hat on first. You ask any organiser, the host nation running deep is always critical for local momentum, media, attendance. They have a very strong squad. They have a squad of players by virtue of what time they turn up here. So basically the FIFA window starts, I think, on the 23rd of February, and the team doesn't start arriving until that day, because they're all playing for big clubs. So then we need to wait for them to be released here. A lot of the other teams are already here or coming a little bit earlier, and so Japan are coming into Perth, India's already in Perth, and it's a double-edged sword actually, because Joe hasn't had much time with them. He's been coaching them over Zoom, literally, but he's got a very good crop of players. So how quickly he can align them with probably 2 training sessions. He's had a couple of camps with them. That's the challenge, but it's also the opportunity. He has a very good group of players. He's got a group of professional players that play in professional leagues that have the best medical, best sports science, best pitches, best,
the best of the best of everything.
The best of the best. They're a good squad, and a lot of those players have been playing together for a while, but I will say Japan look very good. Korea Republic, good. China's had some difficult losses, but I would never count them out. But DPR Korea, always been great.
Yep.
Pretty certain no one's been able to see much footage of them lately.
Even at a youth level, they've been incredible. They won the under-17s Women's World Cup twice in a row. Yeah. And the 20s in the same year.
Yeah, I'm from the era that played them a lot. I went to North Korea to play. A lot of these players have not played them before, so if you come up against them, it's not something a lot of the players say it's like playing Brazil. Brazil, we talk about how good they are on the ball, but actually they're one of the most physical teams I've ever played. So North Korea are a very physical team, and if they don't match the pace and physicality of the game, it's you can lose it very quickly. So they've got a good squad, but the success of this tournament isn't all about the Matildas.
For you, what is a success? Like, how do you measure that for yourself?
I'll be measured by how many people turn up, how many people watch on TV, breaking even financially, really important. I personally measure success through, how many people come up to me on the street after it to tell me where they were when a moment happened. I think we're ready for another, not a World Cup, it would be different. And I think, there's so many very large communities, like our multicultural communities, need moments like this right now. I think Australia, we need more moments of unity and connection at scale like we had during the World Cup. I don't think we probably know we need it, but we're about to get it, and I actually can't wait to be in the stands for a Japan-India match to just feel the vibe. And this is Australia, we're not overseas, and I think we need to see that. We need to be reminded that we're one of the most diverse countries in the world, and we need to celebrate that about ourselves. So I'm excited about that part of the tournament. So it's not all about the Matildas for me. It's about going to those Western Sydney stadium matches and seeing Bangladesh up against the Bangladeshis. We just found out that they've requested something like 100 media accreditation.
Wow.
These communities are huge. There's 1.1 million Chinese Australians. There's 1.1 million Indian Australians. Like, we won't know what hit us until it's hit us. And I just feel proud that we're putting this tournament on at a time where the world's quite divided, and I think we all need to be connected.
So that's a very good note to end on. I want to ask you, we are putting together our playbook for success here on Momentum, and I've been asking every guest to give me their holy grail piece of advice. So in whatever way, shape or form it might be, what would be your one holy grail piece of advice?
Be yourself. It's time consuming to be somebody else, and that's pretty much it.
It's exhausting.
Yeah, it's exhausting. Just be yourself. It's much easier, and I think people appreciate that through leadership. They call it authentic leadership.
And it's just being yourself.
Just be yourself. Yeah.
Well, I love that. That's the perfect note to end on. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure, a long time coming pleasure to have you on Momentum. And to everyone at home, thank you so much for listening to Momentum. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to like, follow and subscribe. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube and anywhere you find your podcasts. Make sure to keep up with us on socials at The Momentum Show. I've been Kat Sasso, and we'll see you next time.